Hey everybody, and welcome back to Mainstream Mondays here on Horror Film Lovers TV. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with
John Ward.
John Ward, and we're here to discuss Child's Play 2.
Two.
Oops.
Those.
And as you can see, I have a picture behind me. It's me, and you can see half of Don Mancini's face. I'm sorry, Don. But you can also see him wearing his Child's Play 2, and I always thought that was the coolest.
I
But
think if you get up and if you look, okay, now I could see his head. I could see because he goes, yeah. Now I could see it. Oh, it is Don Mancini.
okay,
You,
there you go.
you just have to look at it that way.
I guess. All right. So, yeah, I got to meet him. I said it in the last one, but I got to meet him at Texas Frightmare, and he was super neat. I wish I could have talked to him much longer. Like you said, you want to interview him. I would love to interview him too. He's one of those guys that like I look up to, as far as a creator. And I just realized like today that I did not follow him on Instagram until today. I was like, why am I not following Don Mancini? Like he's very easy to like. I mean, he puts stuff out there, content out there. Like I might as well. So,
Sure.
anywho, I did follow him and I did message him, but I don't think I got a response back yet.
Well, sometimes it takes a day or two.
Or
They're busy.
sometimes, or maybe he might not even read it. I'm sure
That's
he
true.
gets a lot of stuff, so he may not be able to read it or whatnot. So I don't know. I don't know how personal he is with fans about that stuff, but it seems really nice. And he does know like the fans love this, stuff. So, but anyway, so here we are talking about Child's Play 2, the sequel,
Hmm.
and where for whatever reason God, I mean, movie, I guess. But whatever reason, they decided, let's just resurrect the actual doll and bring him back. The one that was just melted down and destroyed and everything.
Well,
Let's just
yeah,
recreate that.
yeah. So they could test it.
To
They're
see.
like mad scientists. So, well,
y-
actually, first let's. So I did watch it on this on my. So I watched it on that, and these are because I want to show something on every video. These are the socks I talked about in the first
Ah,
video.
nice. Yeah, I might have something.
Oh, what do they
Uh,
say down here? These are official Universal Studios.
nice. I
So
keep forgetting Universal, like, because the first movie was MGM, right? The first movie was MGM, and then the second
that
one,
sounds right.
and United Artists, which I thought was great. And then it was Universal took over, I guess.
Yeah.
So good
So these
guys.
are the ones that I found in that storage unit. I washed them, and now they're on display. So those
I'm
are my
glad
Chucky
you washed
socks.
them. You know.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. So.
Hmm.
But to continue with what you were saying, I love how, and I think it's almost every movie. They do it in the second one, they do it in the third one.
They have to do it in the third one because in the third
They
one he's just crushed. So, or in the end
yeah,
of the second one he's just crushed. So it would.
I think they do it also in Bride, where they resurrect, where we see his resurrection, which is great because it's like the old Universal monster movies or like
Like
the Hammer
Frankenstein or
Dracula
whatever, yeah.
films, and yeah, where you would see like at the begin at the end of one Dracula film with like Christopher Lee, you would see how he dies. And then at the end of, or at the beginning of the new one, you see how he gets resurrected. And even though it might slightly change location, because they didn't have video back then, so you would probably never know like a year or two later. But this is the same thing, and I love that they do that, and I have no problem with the them putting the original doll back together at all,
Hmm.
because it's like finding the Frankenstein monster and reassembling it, and then it
Or having
wakes up
lightning
and
strike it. Like, well,
yeah.
to talk about like Friday the 13th part 6, where Jason Lives, where it was like the Hammer or Universal Monsters thing, where they had like a shovel, and they stuck it in there, and then a lightning struck the shovel and brought, Jason back to life. One of my favorite Jason movies. I love Jason Lives. I
That's a great one.
steal I stole the two Friday the 13th movies for my promo for Sasquatch vs. Yeti. First thing was paintballing, the paintball scenes and whatnot from Jason Lives, and then the scene where the guy's fighting Jason, and then at the end of part 8, and they're, whatever, the boxer, and he's beating up Jason. Jason just kind of taking it and everything. And then he says, "Your turn," or the guy says, "Your turn," and Jason just knocks his head right off. I didn't do that. I didn't have the head fly off, but I had him just grab the Yeti, grab the girl, and just choke her to death, and whatnot.
Okay.
But that was, I mean, I love those things, but I love the idea of resurrecting the thing. I just thought it was silly that this toy company was going to be like, let's figure out what's wrong with it. No, idiots, just leave it be.
Well, no, because you want to find out so it doesn't happen again. So you recreate it, and then you see what happens, and then you can figure out how not to have it happen again. Of
And
course,
well, yeah, somehow or another, lightning strikes it, and or whatever. I forgot how exactly. It's like lightning struck the doll and whatnot, and then all of a sudden, right?
it
One
all
guy flies.
explodes. Yeah,
Yeah, as one
yeah.
guy
That's our
flies.
first killing is that guy. Yeah, and he gets he's all charred and
Yep,
roasted
yep.
as he
And
goes through the
then
window.
and wow, you shouldn't realize that this doll is a bad doll if, like, I guess they would probably think, wow, what a weird coincidence, but like that's
Well, they don't seem too concerned about the people. It's
right.
like the CEO of the company and then his assistant, I guess. And they're more, of course, yeah, worried about the shareholders and the press and all that. Get rid of this doll, cover all this up, or you're fired. And,
Mm.
and so the guy takes Chucky, the assistant, and he's out in the rain and throws him in the back of his car. He can't fit him into the trunk because there's too many toys, and then he throws him in the back seat, which has a ton of toys. So once again, it's another movie where just everybody treats Chucky horribly, and I don't blame blame them for killing them, because they do treat him like crap.
But he's a doll. Are you very meticulous about your dolls? Do you treat your dolls like they're humans?
You
Do you treat inanimate objects like they're humans?
Well, I don't really have. I mean, I don't really consider now. Now I put it back there, so now I got my little Chucky plush right there.
Nice.
But I don't think there's anything alive in it now. But I do. But I have like a Winnie the Pooh, and I have a what's his name, like the baby Yoda,
Grogu.
Goger. I have him, like a real size version of him.
Right,
Um,
but do
but
you
I don't think they're alive. No, but I do think when you're handling stuffed animals and stuff, there is some sort of respect that you should give them.
I mean, yeah, so first of all, that guy's handling him like every other toy, and especially a toy that is gonna be like basically in my mind, gonna be put into like a desert thing, like the ET, the ET whatever video Atari games that were just put in the middle of their Arizona desert, to never be seen again, buried there.
Where they put the Ark of the Covenant and
Yeah,
that
or
type of thing,
whatever.
the
Yeah,
giant
where
warehouse.
yeah, well, probably not giant warehouse, just buried. deep, so nobody knows like this existed, or whatever. So I think that's it. I think the guy was just there to get rid of the doll somehow or another. I don't know why he wouldn't just throw it in the trash, you know? Just like, what else are you gonna do? Set it on fire?
No,
Like,
you gotta take it away from the. You got to get it away. You can't have any trace of it on the property. You have to get rid of it. So he
mm,
takes it with him to get rid of it, but he just thinks it's a doll and that it was, an energy surge or whatever it is that killed the technician. So he's not thinking that the doll's alive. What I
mm.
thought was really weird is, he's talking to some hooker or something on the other end, an
I
escort or
thought it
whatever it
no, it
is.
wasn't an escort. It was his like girlfriend because it was like their anniversary or something. And he said he was gonna
A,
get the wine,
a
you
two
know,
week anniversary.
like
Okay,
a
I guess if you want to
vodka
do
or
that.
something, vodka or something. He had to go get the vodka, but he only had a credit card and he didn't have.
Well, that I thought was weird to why include that like it doesn't really
Well,
serve the plot any that
no, it
that
does
he
serve the plot because he leaves the car and then Chucky uses the phone, the car phone to right? Like that's what happens. Am I getting them wrong or whatever? Don't you remember Chucky goes and calls up and finds out where Andy is because Andy got adopted?
oh because he's on the paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I mean, I all right, I guess. I mean, I guess they could have just said, "Well, your credit card is declined," and the guy's like, "Well, no, try it again. It can't be declined. That's like a gold card,
no,
But
but
I
they
just
just have it where he only has a credit card and the guy says, "We don't take credit cards, we only take cash." And so he takes the stuff away and then all of a sudden his car starts beeping, right? Going off, like the car alarm starts going off. And so he's like, what in the world is going on? He thinks he's being robbed or whatever. He comes back and everything's normal. It's freaking, what's his name? Chucky that accidentally set off the alarm. Probably trying to leave or something, you know? You know what I
or on
mean?
purpose just to get him back in the car.
Yeah. Well, we never really find out why exactly, but he did, he comes back and he sees Chucky in the exact spot. He left him, so he doesn't even think anything of it. And he gets in the car, starts driving. It would be even cooler if Chucky was just sitting up, you know, at that time. And he was like, you know, like what happened? What, you know what I mean? Like that would freak you out a little bit, you know? And I don't think he wouldn't drive after that. He'd just be like a little confused as to how did
Well, so
Chucky
so Chucky
sit
should
up?
be the same.
Yeah. So he gets up, starts driving, and then that's when he puts the bag over the
See,
guy's
and
head.
that makes a little more sense because he has a whole bunch of like junk, a whole bunch of
Right.
toys in the back seat. So Chucky has something to stand on. So he has some leverage as he puts the bag over the guy's head.
Hmm.
And because he puts a gun at him and says, or a knife, it's the gun or a knife, and he says, drive. And he drives into like
That's
that
right.
parking lot.
That's right. That's right.
And
Okay.
then that's when he puts the bag on him and suffocates the guy.
Yeah. Uh, that's right, because the guy's drive when was okay, it was later that the cops stopped the car. That was with the girl. I was trying to
Yeah.
remember all that. I don't think because he had to get the guy to drive him to the house, right? The place, the new place that Andy was at. Andy got adopted for like was a foster home, or whatever.
By two awesome actors, Garrett Graham
I love Garrett Graham.
and oh fuck, now I'm blanking on her name from Logan's Run, who's absolutely amazing looking. Um,
She's gorgeous. Um,
uh,
I I will grab that. So a Ginny, a gutter,
that's her.
and she was in American Werewolf in London, Logan's
Gorgeous in
Run,
that too.
Walkabout. She was the
Gorgeous in that. Yeah.
a movie that okay. So I was just watching that because I have it on the Criterion 4K, and it looks beautiful. But then there's one scene in that movie that turned me off from the movie, and I haven't gone back to it since, which is there's a scene where they actually kill a kangaroo, and they stab the kangaroo, and you can actually hear the kangaroo go like screech,
And
and
what
that
movie is this?
walkabout.
Oh,
Yeah, it just and that was back in the 70s when they didn't have the Humane Society checking on the stuff, and it was filmed in, I think, Australia or something. And it was after that, after I saw that, I turned it off. Like that just horrified me. And
are you
just
sure it was real?
I know it was
Maybe.
I looked it up because it sounded real, and I was like, "Oh God, was that like fake? Did they get like a thing?" Nope, they that was real. That kangaroo actually got killed. Now, to be fair, it also got eaten by the cast and crew after it was killed. So there's that. It's the same thing as people saying that, in was it what's that movie that people talk about as like one of
Oh,
the
like Cannibal Holocaust with the
Cannibal
turtle?
Holocaust, where the turtle, they actually ate the turtle too, that actually became food, and stuff. And I get it, like kangaroos end up becoming food because a lot of times kangaroos actually cause a lot of mischief and a lot of problems, with people, and stuff like out in the wild or whatever.
Yeah, there
Um,
was an overpopulation
it's
problem
kind of
with
like
them for a
deer,
little bit.
I
Yeah,
still can't I couldn't see somebody actually murder a deer. Like I couldn't watch that. Like a real murder of a deer. Like I don't go hunting. I don't do that. Do I eat deer meat?
no.
I don't even eat really deer meat much, I eat beef, I eat chicken, and it kind of sucks. I wish I could be a full vegetarian. I just can't. Like I just haven't really fully gone there yet, but um and watching that. But anyway, that has nothing to do with Child's Play, but I just wanted to bring that up is like I saw her in that movie and I thought she was absolutely 100% just breathtaking, like beautiful, and whatnot. So in this movie where she's a little older is like 20 years later, after that movie or whatever, she's still gorgeous. She's still beautiful.
Oh yeah, she's still beautiful. Yeah, yeah, and I was very happy that she was in this because I don't think she'd done a film for a little bit. But then then we have Garrett Graham, where
Mm-hmm.
horror people would know him, of course, as Bud the Chud, but
Mm-hmm.
I know him as Beef from Phantom of the Paradise, the
Nice.
Brian De Palma movie, where he played like a Frankenstein monster that gets electrocuted. Speaking of electrocution,
There you go. And speaking of Frankenstein,
yeah.
um,
So, but he was one of these guys like Rodney Dangerfield. He destroyed his career. He became huge. He became really big and then decided to take revenge. And he got blacklisted,
oh man,
which
that
is why
sucks.
he ended up in stuff like Bud the Chud.
Well,
So,
he was also in a little movie called Sidekicks. That's where I remember him from. Small role in it, but it was still a Sidekicks with Chuck Norris, you know,
yeah.
and he was one of the teachers, and he was my favorite because he was sort of he was sort of a dicky teacher, but he was like you could see that he meant well, in a way, but he was still a dick. You know what I mean? Like he wanted his students to be good, but like he didn't believe in Barry. And then when Barry said something like, "That's from Hamlet," he goes, "Be still, my heart." Right? And everything. Wow, you actually know something from this class, right? He was kind of still a dick and sarcastic, but like you could tell he actually, cared about the students as opposed to like
This is a
ones that
very
just are.
long example for sidekicks.
I
Chuck Norris
love
movie.
I love Sidekicks, man. That's one of my favorite movies. We reviewed that for Indie Film Cafe.
Well, you should review the Phantom of the Paradise. So
Uh, all right.
if you
Oh,
if you
where did
want
I
a
go? Where
if
did
you
I
want a
go?
great movie,
There I went.
there you are.
Disappear for a second. I want to cover my face. Um, so yeah, anyway, to go back to Child's Play 2, the movie that we're talking about. So yeah, Garrett was it Garrett Graham? He was great. And we get our first we get Christina Elise, who's later in the Chucky series, you know. So
Yes.
and she was also in what was it, Cult of Chucky or something at the end of Cult of Chucky
Yeah,
at the
Colt introduced no Curse, I think.
I think it was
She's in
Cult.
Curse or Colt. She's in one of those. They started reintroducing old
It was
characters.
Cult because in Cursed, it was Alex Vincent at the end. They did the Marvel thing where they have the post-credit sequence and stuff. We'll get to that, later. But in Cult, she comes back, and then they went to the TV series, and I think they kind of continued the
Yeah,
Cult
it's
of
her and
Chucky.
Alex. Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to stop Chucky and stuff. So, and they're actually pretty good friends. Like I see Alex's posts and hers. Like I'm friends with both of them on Facebook, and they will both be talking. They'll take pictures together at conventions. Or if they just go out to lunch or something together. Like they seem really cool. So, I love that because in this movie they kind of have this little bond together. They're both um what is it orphans, in a way, even though
Oh yeah, yeah. They're
it,
in the adoption system, which I am going to bring. Okay, so I have a huge problem with the house.
right.
So when Alex enters the house and we first see it, does a 90-year-old woman live there? Was that house left to them by their grandmother? That house is made for somebody who's like 90. Like that is an old woman's house.
Mm-hmm.
And there is all of this breakable stuff. And of course,
well
something does get broken, but
well
it's
well
like, this is a house that kids would not be in.
right, right, right.
If you have a lot of adopted kids coming in and out, you would not have these collectibles. And that collectible that the wife has, that she goes, oh yeah, it was passed down through the
Yeah,
different
that's what I'm
generations, would be in a cabinet somewhere, or a glass cabinet, or some sort of glass or plastic thing going over it, so
right.
nobody could break it. So the minute that Andy goes and kind of touches it, they go, don't touch it. Once again, my thing about touching shit. Why do you got to touch it? Don't touch it. It's not yours. Leave it alone. And of course, it gets broken because that's what the script says it has to do. But that house is completely inappropriate
Well,
for having kids who are being adopted in.
okay,
It
so
makes no sense.
right. And I think a lot of that has to do with in a way, has to do with that lady. Because remember, she said that was passed down from generation to generation. There were other, there's other stuff were probably also passed down from generation to generation. So that I
I
think was their excuse for why they picked that house. Honestly, I agree with you. I think that's bad location scouting or whatever. But
Well, no, the house itself is fine. I think it's bad set decoration. I don't think if you're you could see these shows, MTV or whatever it is, that had these shows on where there would be the adopted kids or there would be something like that. And these houses don't look anything like that. They don't have things that just break.
well,
If you're somebody who is in a house and you, let's say you're taking care of kids after school, and you have like 10 kids and they're waiting for their parents, 5 kids, you're going to make sure stuff in your house isn't going to get broken.
right.
And that to me, the way that the house looked was, either Garrett Graham's character as the husband is completely cucked, because that is not a man's house at all. There is nothing in that house says that a man lives there. This is
Mhm.
literally a 90-year-old woman's house. So the wife has an 80-year-old mindset or 90-year-old mindset. And because this house is completely inappropriate. That is my biggest complaint about this movie.
Um, hmm. I mean, I don't know. Like, that's another thing. Once again, I think them doing, what is it? The location scouting and or our set decoration and stuff. Like, what is it? Did you ever watch like Project Greenlight?
Yeah, watch all of them.
Yeah. So in Project Greenlight, there was like the fourth one, I think it was, where the guy wanted like the perfect house So he went looking for this, like, and he found this house that was like as close to perfect as it could be, or whatever. And when he went inside, one of the things they said was, you can't touch this, 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 this. You can't move this, 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 this. You have to keep these in these whatever, right? And there was one point where they almost bump into something and knock something down that would have cost them like millions of dollars just to break one of the things that they had. And I'm like, first of all, that's terrible that 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 guy fought so hard to have a house that's so fucking hard to, even walk around in because, things are breakable there, you know, right? But also that's the thing. Some houses, if you get them, the owners of the house will tell you you can't touch that. You can't move that. So the 90-year-old woman who owned that house probably told them you can't move that and you can't set decorate this stuff, which what it should be their first thing going, well, I guess we can't use this house, right?
That's what I would say because they're I mean, they say they're in Chicago, but of course they could be in Canada. Who knows? And the outside of the house isn't really anything unique, unless for some reason they couldn't find a house with a basement. And I would think maybe the basement would even be someplace else. It'd be a different place. Maybe it's a set or a different house or something like that. Um, but it's there's nothing unique about it. And I don't know, maybe they found that house, they liked it, but there's all these figurines, and they said, okay, well, let's write it into the script that she has this figurine that's been passed down through the generations, and we'll have it broken, and then Chucky will break it, and then they'll accuse the kids. I don't, maybe something like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can't. So they just, you know, they blurred it all out so you don't see a lot of it. But yeah, I don't know. I did not like when they first entered the house. I'm just like, oh shit, no kid would be in this. This
Andy's Andy's house is at 2035 Milan Avenue, South Pasadena, California.
that
So,
house.
yeah, that house is in
So
California.
so the okay, so the basement is in a different location because houses in California don't have basements.
I don't know. That was probably a
They have
set.
attics.
That was
So
probably a set.
some yeah, some places do. I've been called out on that because I've said that before. Some houses in California do have basements, but a lot of them are only about like this big, and it's basically just to get under the house. But that is more of an East Coast thing because of flooding that they have basements. The West Coast has attics because we don't have the flooding problem. Um, but yeah, so it's probably two totally different locations. So who knows? Maybe that house, the inside of the house was a set
Hmm.
because they would have to build the doorway to go down to the basement unless it was just a closet.
That's what I would imagine is that the because you never really see the, you can't see the out like from the inside of the house to the basement, right? So that could be, a set or its own like location or something like that. But the house, yeah, the house. I looked it up and then I looked up what it looked like. Like it's still there, looking exactly the same. It looks like, you know, which would be good because I guarantee you lots of people stop by that house. I should have if I had watched this movie back when I was living in San Gabriel, which is like 5 minutes from Pasadena. I should have gone there over there and checked out that house and took a picture outside of it, you know.
Sure.
Um I did that with the Nightmare on Elm Street houses and the
Well, and
Halloween
in the
houses.
the factory, that Chucky factory in part two is in
That's
L.A.
that's also I think in Pasadena. No, Long Beach. That's in Long Beach. The one,
He who will not be named used it in one of his films.
yeah. I'm sure he did. The Crisis Center was in Los Angeles. The street where Kyle gets pulled over. The only part that's in Chicago was the railroad crossing in the opening scene, opening credits.
Hmm.
So I don't remember that, but yeah. So I guess they try to make it look like Chicago, for LA, or whatever. But it didn't matter as long as you didn't see palm trees, you're good, you
Yeah.
know. Like that was what they had to do, is just make sure they went to like more rural areas and whatnot, and avoided palm trees, and you were good to go.
Unlike John Carpenter's Halloween. Yeah,
Or unlike there was an asylum movie that was supposed to be like I want to say like Chicago or something like that. It was one of the haunting of something, whatever. And they all of a sudden you see palm trees in the back, and I'm like, me and Paul were watching it going, the fuck? Like they couldn't even hide the palm trees. Like, this is just sad, you know? When they're lazy, when they just don't give a crap about that. They're like, oh, this is supposed to be Chicago. Palm trees. They'll be
well,
okay.
I mean, Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 was all shot in LA, and you could
Was it?
tell. Yeah, it was not Texas. It was all shot in LA.
Oh, I was thinking it was Georgia. Because that's where.
Well, let's just say it was not shot in Texas. It was shot
Okay.
someplace else. I thought it was LA, that they're just shooting
I
in
think it
like
was
the
Georgia.
area of LA.
Because that was what's his name? That was
Jeff Bird directed that
Jeff
one.
Burr, and Jeff Burr's just uh Jeff Burr's a big was a big Georgia guy. Rest in peace, Jeff. Speaking of
Yes,
puppet
wasn't he?
masters from the last movie, you know.
Yeah. He directed what, 4 and 5.
hmm So anyway, yeah, I did like the house, other than the your art direction. I thoughts and stuff. I thought the house was pretty neat. I do love that he finds a good guy doll in the, like squared away and everything, and named Tommy. Hi, I'm Tommy.
Yeah.
I'm your friend to the end.
It just falls out on him.
Yeah. Oh my God. It did, like, for a second there, I thought, oh my God, did he sneak up there already? And everything, and the doll falls on him, and he's freaked out and everything, and
Yeah, then Garrett Graham, takes the doll and opens the door and throws it down into the basement. Once again, no, well, that is Chucky that he
that,
throws down there. That's not Tommy.
well, no, at first
Oh, because
he
Chucky destroys Tom,
yeah, and
buries him.
then yeah, and then um yeah, so he destroys. So first off, was it the Tommy, he puts Tommy in the hall,
Yeah,
way.
underneath the swing,
Yeah.
because I guess it
Um,
has soft ground, because it's the feet have been on the ground, so he could dig easier. I don't know
no,
why
no,
I'd
no,
put
no,
him
no. I'm
under the
talking about in
swing.
the house. And originally, Garrett Graham's character grabs Chucky, or not Chucky, Tommy, puts Tommy in the hallway out in the house and stuff, so that, he was away from him, but he didn't throw him in like a basement or do anything with them. He just put him like in another room and everything. And so just that he's not in the room with Andy and stuff. And so Andy all of a sudden hears Garrett Graham and them talking about how the doll is the problem and stuff like that, and he's not over this Chucky situation. So he goes and gets overhears that, and so he gets Tommy and starts pretending to be okay with Tommy, and that's when he goes to the swings and whatnot, and talks to Christina Lisa's character. Why, I love that bonding moment. She's smoking a cigarette, and oh, who smokes a cigarette? And by the way, and swings. I've never seen anybody do that
I don't.
before.
I've never understood cigarettes unless you're James Bond. I don't get it. So it's
Well,
I
she
don't
was the
understand.
rebel, and I think in real life, I think Christine probably does smoke, but like she was the rebel,
In
character.
real life, she was on Beverly Hills 90210 and dated Jason Priestley.
hmm She was in a few things, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was
That
wonderful.
that's where I first, I think. I don't know which one came first, but
Oh, Chucky or that? No, Chucky was
yeah.
first. And then then
And then
Christine,
90210.
yeah, then 90210 after. She probably, like, people start seeing her and things like this, and were very impressed by her as an actor. I mean, she was wonderful in this. I thought she did a great job. Um but she's been in
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of, like, I would love to interview her at some point, because she's been in stuff like China Beach. Remember that TV show?
Hmm.
Like, oh my God, she's got such a great history of like, TV and stuff, like a rich history. Stuff that I wish shows like that existed now. Like they don't anymore, you know? I mean, thankfully we can get DVDs or something if we want, but or streaming. But like I love like TV shows like this where it's just a lot of fun, you know? Um I don't think she was in Melrose Place, even though that's the spinoff of 90210. But she was in that. She was in that one episode of that TV show Robin's Hoods. Do you remember that show?
Oh God, that Canadian show with the black chick.
No, 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 no. That's the newer one. This is a 1994 to 95 one. It was with a bunch of it's kind of like Melrose Place or whatever, like all those hip
Oh, no idea.
things, but it was like it says prosecutor Brett Robbins' husband, a cop, is killed. She discovers he hired ex-cons to work at a bar he bought as part of their parole. So like she trains these people, but she's not like it's not Robin Hood, you know, like itself or whatever. It's just that's the title. Um, she was in the Cactus Kid. What is this? That sounds ridiculous. A boy with cancer asks his father to let him rob a bank, just like his favorite comic book character. What? That's a family movie? Like, oh my God, that is weird. She's in that movie. Um, she was in Law and Order Special Victims Unit, a few other shows. So, I mean, she's been in a lot of stuff, you know. So over was 113 titles. So,
Good for her.
yeah, awesome. I liked her in this. I liked her in most everything I've seen of hers, you know. And then so they're bonding. Then Chucky sneaks in and kills what's it, Tommy, whatever, you
Hits
know,
him, yeah, with like
hits him.
the shovel in the face or something and
Well,
destroys his
well,
face.
also takes the thing, the breakable object and breaks it with, in his face and all that stuff.
Oh, is that what it was? Because I looked away and I didn't see how the figurine was broken or how the statue was broken. So he
Yeah,
used
so he
that on the
used that,
face.
yeah, he smashed it onto the face of the
Okay, well
you
that
know.
makes sense of why it's broken. Okay,
Yeah, so
I
he did
actually, to
that.
be honest, I think I fell asleep. So I
Okay.
think I just kind of went, and then it was already broken. So I was very tired this morning. Still in.
So he goes and buries, not very deep, but buries Tommy, and then goes back inside and he's Tommy now, right? Chucky is Tommy. So Alex Vincent doesn't know, you know. So when he um that's when Alex Vincent decides to get Tommy, like or whatever. That was it. Okay, so I think I mixed it up a little bit. But he grabs Tommy thinking or he grabs Chucky thinking it's Tommy, right? Takes it into the room, doesn't realize he just took the real deal, He just took Chucky and starts, whatever, and doing all this stuff and then later he brings Chucky to um Chucky like was it ties him up, at night and and actually ends up which I think he must have been asleep, right? He was asleep when that happened, right?
When Chucky's going to try to do the voodoo thing on him again to
Yeah,
try to switch.
yeah,
I'm guessing he was asleep, and then because we don't see him asleep, we just cut to him being tied up in Chucky.
right. So yeah, so he's tied. Yeah, so he was asleep and also he's tied up, and so he, and gagged like a cupcake. That looked like a cupcake in his mouth.
Oh no, I think it was a sock, wasn't it?
That was a cupcake, but it might have been a sock.
I mean, you could just eat the cupcake.
That's true.
I
But it
would.
looked like a cupcake to me. I was like, what the
Yeah, I
heck?
think he has like a sock in his mouth.
Okay. Uh, So he's you're right. He would have just got right.
Where's Strucker?
Thanks, Chucky. I was hungry. Um, but anyway, so he ends up was it Christine Elise kind of sneaks in through his bedroom of all places or whatever, which, to sneak
Yeah,
back in,
weird. Maybe she can't do that through her window, so she's been going through his.
which is weird to think like she's been seeing him sleep the last couple days or whatever when she's
Uh,
been sneaking out. Whatever. Anyway, she sees him tied up and she thinks he's playing some kind of game or something. And like, why? How can he tie himself up like that? Like, he,
she comments on that. She goes, I still don't know how you tied yourself up.
yeah. Okay, that's right. So
But
he goes up
Chucky
and
did
she,
it.
yeah, Chucky did it, all right. And so she starts untying him, but the parents come in and they thought she tied him up so she could sneak out or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad that they didn't think something else. Yeah.
Yeah, some
It could have
kinky
gone
stuff going
it,
on.
it could have
Yeah.
gone very weird, like oh my God, you're 17 years old, almost an adult. What are you doing with this child?
I'm grooming him. I mean, we're playing a game.
But anyway, so she ends up now I'm not saying that's not funny, by the way. I'm not laughing at sexual like that stuff. It's just it did look like it could have been weird, you know. I want
I
to
thought
put
it.
that out. Yeah, well, I just want to make sure people are clear. That's not a funny matter. Like doing that stuff is not a funny matter. I'm just saying. It just looked like that could have been the first thought that would have came. Nowadays, that's the first thought that could have gone through
You
people's
know,
heads.
nobody watching this thought that until you brought it up. And now they're going like, wait a minute, maybe he does think that. And he's just doing that as an excuse. I would have
Oh,
never thought
stop
of it
that.
if I didn't say anything.
I might have to edit this.
You're not editing anything.
All right. Anyway, next. So he goes out, whatever they go out and that's when they throw Chucky into the basement, because they're like, we're tired of you talking about him. And they lock the basement up so Chucky can't get out, and everything like that. And so, um, and that's when things just go crazy throughout the whole thing because Chucky does escape out of the basement and starts doing lots of crazy stuff. Like he follows the kid to school and stuff. Which, how do you know what school he went to?
No, Andy brought it to school. I think the school thing happens before this because Andy brings what he
No,
thinks
no,
is Tommy to school. And I said to myself, what kid brings a doll that big to school? And then there's a kid in front of him that has the same doll. And I even think a kid down the street, I think even was carrying one. And then because he still does, I don't think he knows it's Chucky.
no, because he did know it's Chuck, because Chucky kills the teacher and stuff
Right. But
there.
he does, the kid doesn't see it.
No, he does. He sneaks out the window. Alex was in
Well,
detention.
okay, yeah, okay. So
So Andy
yeah,
was in
so
detention. So I my thing was that somehow or another he went to that school. But there's got to be more than one school in Chicago for like middle schools. How does he know exactly what school he was going to?
unless did he bring Chucky to school in the first movie, and that's what I'm thinking of?
I don't think it's the same school though, right?
No. But he brought. I know that he brought Chucky to school. He had him, and I just went, why would you bring that to school? And then there was the kid in front of him that was up the steps had one, and then I think a kid walking on the sidewalk down there had one.
Yeah.
So maybe he goes to school in he brings Chucky with him to school. Yes, because he sneaks out of school with Chucky
Yep.
to go kill the guy in the van
Yeah, they kill the guy that
that left
his
him.
that left him and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So in part two, yeah, he goes to the school and Chucky follows him.
Somehow or another he gets finds
Yeah.
out exactly where what school. I'm just saying I don't know if he'd be at the same school or not, but I guess so. So he probably does know where the school is or whatever, and whatnot, because he did bring him to that school. So okay, that understand. Like I will say,
I
okay,
don't.
that's fine.
Is it the same school? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. I guess it
It
doesn't
probably
really matter.
wasn't the same school, but we're led to believe it's the same school.
Yeah, see, I just figured it was just a totally different school because he's adopted, probably living in a different district.
That's what
So he
I was
probably,
saying, like thinking,
but well, okay. So we're on then the where he kills the teacher, stabbed in the chest with an air bomb, beaten to death with a yardstick. Nope, not buying it. Not
mm,
buying it. I get the air bomb. I guess that's to blow up balls like basketballs or soccer balls. Okay, fine. He sticks it in her chest and hits the top of it in and it gets air in her chest. Okay, maybe. But then he just takes a freaking yardstick and kills her that way.
who did he kill? The teacher?
The
Well,
teacher.
real quick, I just want to. There's a thing right here. It says the next day, Chucky secretly follows Andy to school and defaces his homework, resulting in Andy being assigned detention. Chucky kills Andy's teacher, Mrs. Kettlewell, by stabbing her with an air pump and then beating her with a yardstick. But Andy manages to escape. Miss Kettlewell is the same lady from Donnie Darko that was
Yes.
Miss Kitty Farmer and that. And so every time I see her, I can't stop but thinking like the was it the line in Donnie Darko, I don't believe you, uh was it love our sparkle motion or whatever. Remember that line where it's like I you don't believe in sparkle motion or whatever. There's a really good line from that. But anyway, I absolutely loved that actress. And I thought she was great as this annoying teacher once again.
Well,
Who's
maybe it's the same teacher. Maybe after what happened to Donnie Darko, she couldn't handle it. Of course,
because
the
that was
Patrick Swayze character that she was, completely believed in ended up being a pedo. And maybe she was so upset that she moved to Chicago. And instead of teaching high school, she was teaching like middle school and,
maybe
and, and then got killed.
maybe she changed her name from Kitty Farmer to Kettlewell. You
Yeah,
know.
because she kept getting interviewed.
Yep.
So she's like, well, crap, I got to change my name because people know, this is annoying.
Yep. So, that scene was a little crazy. Yeah, I don't know if I believe it necessarily either, but it happened in the
There
movie.
could have been something better. I mean, he if he has strength, he could have used like a paper cutter
Yeah.
and ripped off the blade, kind of like what Megan does. She dances with it, and he could have pulled that off and beat her with it because at least that has a blade on it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a yardstick. I guess if you hit somebody 500 times with a yardstick, okay, but
Yeah, you're probably
no,
gonna kill them eventually.
yeah, I mean, and if it's something that we need to know about, like it's a yardstick with like a metal piece that goes along it, so you can get like that nice line on the chalkboard, then we need to see that. We need
Mm.
to have her go up to the chalkboard and do the line, and then we know, oh, okay. And then when Chucky kills her with it, it's fine. But I'm no a yardstick. Sorry, no, I'm not.
You're not buying it. It's
No.
okay. So after that, let's see. Andy tries to warn his foster parents about Chucky, right? So, but Phil refuses to believe him and considers returning him to the foster center, right? So he's trying to warn them that day or whenever he goes back to home, right? That night, Andy sneaks into a basement to confront Chucky, but the doll overpowers him. When Phil arrives to investigate, Chucky trips him, causing him to fall from the stairs and break his was it
Breaks his
break
neck.
his neck.
Yeah, he falls and then he's hanging.
Yep.
And that's where he sees that Chucky is real because Chucky goes right up to his face. And he goes, how's it hanging, Phil? And then that's when he like uses the hook to remove whatever he's caught on and he falls and breaks his neck.
Exactly. Joanne blames Andy for Phil's death and sends him back to the foster center. Alone in the house, Chucky stabs Joanne to death off screen. We don't see that death, which is kind of a shame, you know?
According to this, it says, well, okay, so this is like I said, that same place for Final Destination. It says for Phil, knocked down from a ladder. No, it's stairs.
It
By a fire
stairs.
poker, snapped neck. Then it says for Joanne, slit throat. And it does show her slit throat in the picture here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she was stabbed to death. Oh, no, no. Grace is stabbed to death. The one who's at the foster care center.
Yeah. So Chucky stabs Joanne to death off screen. Kyle discovers Tommy buried outside and realizes Andy was telling the truth. You know, she rushes to warn Joanne but finds her dead. Chucky ambushes Kyle and forces her to drive him to the foster center. Chucky stabs Grace to death and captures Andy. So I think it says stabs her to death, but like doesn't say slit her throat or something, or whatever. Kyle pursues them through the streets and to the neighbor. Wow, so this is really cutting so it doesn't even mention. So Andy and Chucky somehow I forgot how, somehow they get into the newspaper, like truck or whatever, you know, and that's where he's still planning, I guess, trying to figure out how to, you know, turn him, steal his soul back and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And she saw that, I guess, and I don't remember how, but I don't
Well,
remember
they
seeing
yeah,
that.
the truck is sitting there because the guy is like unloading, and they
Right,
get into the back of the truck, and then Elise runs out and sees them,
right.
and
She, and so she goes to follow them and tracks the guy down and starts beeping at the guy. And the guy's like listening to music or whatever, not paying attention. And then he sees her and she's trying to say, pull over. And Chucky knows that, she's there, or whatever. So she stops the car, gets out, and then they're already gone. They've already left,
yeah, then
jumped
the
out the
truck
back.
driver basically assaults her,
I know. He's like, "What the fuck is your problem?"
grabbing her by
Right?
the shoulders and like
I
hitting her
know.
up against the truck and everything. It's like Christ, I'd sue the shit out of that dude.
Well, I mean, I don't think he was in the right at all to touch her. He should not have touched her at all. But like I think they had him do that so that she would have more, she'd have more time to wrestle with him and have to tell him, I can't talk to you right now, guy. Leave me alone so I can go, right? And he's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, why did you just stop me and then take off? Like there was nothing for him. He
Right.
never saw a doll. He never saw anything. As far as he knows, she just was crazy. Crazy chick is, I think that's even what he says. So she takes off and running to the toy factory, and man, is that just a good guy toy factory?
That's what
Like,
it looks like.
but it's ridiculous. They don't have toy factories just for one toy. That's silly. I mean, I know for a movie it works, right? But like there would be no way you go into a one factory and see just good guy dolls being made. That's ridiculous. So she goes in, she's trying to find them. She stops the ritual, and everything. Like she pushes the boxes down and covers over Chucky, and so Chucky is, not able to do it.
After an
And
endless scene of Andy and Chucky running through the boxes,
yeah,
it goes on forever. It's
right.
fine because it's like a big maze, but it's like, how big is this warehouse? And why are all these dolls set up like a maze? I've worked in a warehouse before. They don't set things up like that.
Well, it kind of gave me like Shining flashbacks where you
Well,
see that.
exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that was probably what John Lafia, the director, sort of was going for.
Who's dead, by the way? I looked him up. He died.
Oh, he died
Yeah.
in 2020, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's sad. I liked him.
He
Uh,
he he took his life.
I saw it as a suicide. Sad. Very sad. He also did like Man's Best Friend, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that movie too.
so, but anyway, going back to this, like, yeah, they're in a maze, which later was very annoying too, where where Kyle and Andy are running through the maze again, and they're trying to get out, and they just keep bumping into things, wondering when Chucky's gonna jump out at you. It's kind of like those haunted mazes that you don't know when the creature's gonna go right, and everything like that. You're on your toes, and everything, and eventually they're able to get to like ones where they can climb up and you know um at one point he's climbing up this, like, I don't know what it is, like a conveyor belt or whatever thing, and they're climbing up and she's got all the way up there, and so she puts her hand out for him, and he reaches out, grabs it for a second, and then he starts falling,
Oh
and
wait, but
that's
we're missing a death.
did we miss, did the guy die between that? I thought he died
Well,
after that.
well,
But
it
maybe he
says
did.
unnamed technician,
Yeah.
cropped cheek, eyes impaled by dull eye
Puncher.
device.
Yeah. The
Because
puncher.
is
That's
Yeah, because isn't what you're talking about near the end,
yeah. All of this
where they're
is all
on the
near the very.
rolly things?
Yeah, but I thought that they had gotten off by that time. Hold on, maybe this will explain, because goes way too fast, because this ends it this does it really quickly and doesn't really go into much detail. Um and so was it Kyle pursues them to the streets and to the nearby Play Pals factory, but is unable to find them before Chucky knocks Andy unconscious and completes the ritual. However, we forgot to mention that. So, however, the spell fails as he spent too much time in his doll body and
That's
is
right.
now permanently trapped. Enraged, Chucky chases Andy and Kyle through the factory. After Chucky murders a factory technician, Kyle and Andy manage to mutilate his body on an assembly line equipment. That's after you're right. So I think he kills the attendant guy, or whatever, the factory worker, and then they are climbing up the thing. He almost gets Andy. Andy's able to get back up and then get up to the top, and so Chucky has to like climb up there or whatever, and then they end up mutilating his body, like, where it's just like nothing but.
He gets messed up.
Well, at first you think it's like the thing that's like this, but later you realize like he just lost like some of his body, and I guess that was another doll that got squished, right? Because
Oh
there's
yeah, I think that they show that to you so you know what it does. Like,
no, but
like, like it
I
went
think
up and it got all messed up, and then it comes out, and they're
I know
looking at it going, "Oh, we could do that to Chucky."
But I think they did try to do it to Chucky, and one of them came out, and they thought it was him, but he was not mangled like that. So I think they did a switcheroo on you, and so all of a sudden Chucky shows up again, but this time he's got like no legs, or whatever. He's just half the body trying to grab at them and everything. And God, what did they do to him at the end? Um,
Well, they put him in that machine that has the door that opens
yeah.
and closes like sideways, or not really sideways, but it's like a weird door, and you go in there, and then that's where the dolls get all the pieces put on.
Yeah, so
So
it
that
says after saving unconscious Kyle from being killed on the conveyor belt, because the Chucky knocked her on the conveyor belt and knocked her out or whatever, and she's about to like get her head like crushed, and stuff. The two approach the half melted Chucky, who suddenly springs back to life. Kyle shoves a high pressure hose into his mouth. This got me like the Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. Like, remember the one in, I think it was part five, where the girl just kept eating until she popped, like her face popped or something, you know?
oh yeah, it reminded me more of Monty Python and the Meaning of Life.
Yeah,
So
that happens
yeah,
too, where the guy eats and eats and eats and
yeah,
pops.
it was
So
just a
springs back.
mint.
Kyle shoves a high pressure hose into his mouth inflating his head until it explodes, finally killing him. Andy and Kyle exit the factory, unsure of where to go. So, that's how they end it. And I thought the movie was fun, enjoyable. Like I liked it better than I remember liking it. Because I don't remember thinking this was that great. And now rewatching it, I'm like, I dig it.
I think it's better than part one.
I don't think it's better than part one, in my opinion. But that's wonderful to think. I think part one set up a great magic and really had a very serious tone to it, and I like that. Just like the first Nightmare on Elm Street, then later it became more jokey, you know. And then, I mean, that's kind of what a lot of these movies do. Um, I had this like skit for Saturday Night Live or something that I was writing out, and it was like all four of the main horror people, maybe even five of the main horror people, villains playing poker, and it would be Jason, Freddy, Chucky, and Michael Myers, right? And so Jason and Michael don't say anything while they're playing, and the two Freddy and Chucky are the ones joking on each other the whole time or whatever, and making fun of the other two for not talking, you know, and getting mad because they have poker faces. you know, Things like that, just jokes like that. But I always thought about that because those two, Freddy and Chucky, each one got extreme, like funnier, like more funny each time because I think that's what the audiences wanted. They wanted more jokes and silliness until later when like Cult of Chucky and Curse of Chucky was more serious and more, whatnot. And Freddy, for Freddy, it was what Wes Craven's New Nightmare, made him a lot less jokey until Freddy versus Jason came around, and then kind of made him way jokey again, brought that back or whatever, you know.
Right.
But anyway, I love that. Like I love that he got jokey, but still I just like Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Nightmare on Elm Street's a fantastic first film. Friday the 13th, I would say that's not my favorite Friday the 13th movie. The first one. I like part 8 a lot better. And a lot of people hate that movie. Jason
Oh yeah, I
Jason
don't.
takes a cruise to Manhattan.
I like Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare, better than that. Part two is my favorite. So
And you like wait, hold on, for Friday the 13th?
oh,
Part
I'm
2?
sorry. I'm sorry. I said Freddy. No, for I'm sorry for Jason. I would rather watch. I guess Jason Goes to Hell, but my favorite one is part two, Friday the 13th part two.
Yeah. So mine is 8 and that's the one I'd watch. I don't know. Maybe it was one of the first ones I got to watch as a kid, because it was on USA and I just liked it. But I also like the humor, you know, and stuff. So,
Not a fan.
yep. No, a lot of people aren't. I'm not like I'm there's very few of us, when I had Kane Hodder sign a picture, it was him at Times Square looking at his, thing. So I'm very much a part 8 fan, you know. But anyway,
If I had to have Kane sign a Jason picture, it would be the Jason at the beginning of Jason X. He's got the chain and he's I think that he looks the best. He looks more like the Frankenstein monster there.
it was pretty badass in that one,
Yeah. Not Uber Freddy, but the
Uber
Jason before
Jason.
that.
Yeah, Uber Jason, yeah.
Not,
I
not a huge fan of Uber Jason, but I like Jason before he becomes Uber Jason.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite look.
All right. Well, I guess do you want to talk about what how well it did?
Yeah, so we got part two was released 2 years later, also on November 9th, 1990. And it made a shitload of money. Its budget was 13 million and
So
it
I got
made
a higher budget.
35.8. Yeah, higher budget and made more money.
What
So
how much did it make?
13, I'm sorry, 35.8 million.
Didn't it make 40 something on the last one?
And
In the
we'll go
first
back and
one?
look. So 35. The first one made 44.2.
Yeah, so it made
So
more
it,
money in the first one,
yeah.
but it still made enough money where they're like, okay, we can make a third movie.
Yeah, I mean, because the budget is so low. I mean, this would be a hit. So
There you go. So people watch Child's Play 2 if you haven't seen it in a while or whatever. Um, what would be your ranking from 1 to 5?
I'm trying to get back on here. Here we go. Um, I really like two. So now my ratings are Chucky Child's Play based. So if I say part two is 4.5, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it's as good as Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Right.
that type of thing. This is just
Those
based
that's a
in the
different
world.
rank. That's our different ranking.
Yeah, so this is just based in the world of Chucky. So I would say 4.5 for this one. I
I
almost want to change my review for the first one to 3 and call this one 4.
All right.
I think I rated
Uh,
the first one too high.
I was like thinking that too. I was like, wait, because I even said that something like that to you. It's like really 4, because you said that was your least favorite.
Yeah, I'm going to
So
say 3 for the first one, 4 for this one.
okay. Um, by the way, I'm gonna give 4.5 because not 4.5, 4. I'm gonna go with 4. Um, I liked it, but I didn't like it as much as the first one. I liked the first one better. Um, now on November 9th, 2000, and 9th through 11th, Child's Play 2 was number 1 in the box office when
Oh,
it released. It made $10 million its first weekend.
nice.
Uh, Second was Jacob's Ladder in its first week of or like first week out, basically the second week that it was out. Ghost was next, and that had already accumulated, a good amount of money. Um, because that was in its like fourth week, you know. A movie called Sibling Rivalry was number 4. You ever heard of Sibling Rivalry?
Yes.
Who's in
I
that?
think it's with what's her face from Cheers that took
Oh,
over.
Kirstie Alley, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's with her. Yeah.
Okay. Reversal of Fortune, which was in its 15th week, basically. Got number 5. Man, I've never heard of many of these movies.
Versatile Fortune is good.
White Palace was number 6.
Yeah, that's
In
James
box office.
Spader.
Quigley Down Under, I do remember that movie. Was that
Yeah,
with
that's Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck? Yeah, that was number 7. Memphis Belle, I do know that one. Number 8. Number 9 is the Steven Seagal movie Marked for Death.
Wow,
Um,
that's his second film.
yeah, and then Fantasia was in its 1990 re-release, and that was 10. Um, and that had been in 12 weeks of 12 weeks. What? Like, really? See, that's the thing that's crazy to me to look back at these movies. It does not happen these days in the theater. A movie will not be there for 12 weeks that was re-released, right? Like they're like with they re-released Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, but only for like a weekend. That was it. Then it was done.
Yeah,
You
for its
know?
anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah, for its anniversary, it was done. It's not there for like 13 weeks, or whatever.
No,
Um,
they don't have that. I remember working at the cinema, that big red brick building I've told you guys about, and we played Top Gun. That thing was there for a year. It just played until there was like nobody in the audience. And they're like, okay, pull it. There's nobody
crazy.
here anymore. So,
That's crazy, man, to think about. I want to look at what Child's Play, the original did. You
because
know,
back in the day, you just went to the movies. It didn't really matter what it was or who was in it. You just went. So Friday and Saturdays, there was always lines.
Yeah.
Lines at the box office, lines at the snack bar. It was crowded in the theaters. It didn't really matter. You just went. And now it's like, forget it. It's totally different.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that young people will never really experience that.
So, and the to go back to the original Child's Play, the first week that it opened, it did open number one with $6 million, $6,583,963. Next, number two was Ernest Saves Christmas.
Oh God.
That was number two. Number three was Iron Eagle 2.
Okay.
Number four was They Live in its second,
Oh.
you know, second one, second week or whatever. Everybody's All American was number five. The Accused was number six. U2 Rattle and Hum.
Yeah.
Why? Did you see those balloons that just went through?
Yes.
That was
It's
crazy.
because you were celebrating U2 Rattle and Hum.
I guess. I don't know. Number eight was A Cry in the Dark. Number nine was Mystic Pizza. And number 10 was Without a Clue. So, wow. I never heard of most of those movies.
Which ones
God,
have you not heard of?
Without a Clue? I don't know that one.
That's a Michael Caine movie. That's like a Sherlock Holmes comedy.
I know Mystic Pizza.
That's Julia Roberts, one of her early
I do know
films.
that one. Cry in the Dark. I feel like I've
That
heard
is
that
Meryl
title.
Streep. I think that's the Dingo Ate My Baby movie based on a true story.
That's the one where Elaine steals a dingo ate my baby.
Yeah.
The Accused. I don't know that offhand.
That's the Jodie Foster, Kelly McGillis rape movie
Okay.
where she gets assaulted on a pinball machine and they go to court and everything.
Wow, why is everything so like assaulty in this like it just seems like that was the thing then is like let's do these movies where people have like these terrible like stuff happening to them. Um and people are like, "Yeah, let's go see that again." Like, "Oh my God. Everybody's All American." I've never heard of that either.
Dennis Quaid football movie.
Okay. That sounds like a football movie. The other ones I know what Iron Eagle is, so I know what part two would be. And I never saw either of them. Those were like Louis Gossett Jr., right? Movies and whatnot, right?
Yeah, I think they made four or five of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know because I think Cobra Kai had the first one or something, right? Like wasn't Iron Eagle one in the video, like he's watching TV, he's watching.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, but yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So anyway, yeah, so those were what was big in the box office, but Chucky was big in the box office. That to me is amazing. Good for Chucky.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think Cliff and I opened it. I think they weren't expecting it to do anything, so we opened that movie.
What do you mean? You opened it?
Our theater played it. That's what it's
Oh,
called. We opened the movie, so we were the theater to play it. We were the first theater.
you're the first theater ever to play Child's Play?
No, 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 no. Like after a movie, it would go to different theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So it like once it's done with our theater, then they move it to like a discount theater.
Oh, okay.
So we played that movie, and then once it ran its course, it went to a different theater. But
Yeah.
yeah, we did opening night for that movie. I'll say it that way then.
Yeah. I kind of like I miss theaters, the way theaters were. Like I used to have a theater right next to my like close to my house. We could walk through the woods and we'd go to the theater and my friends and I on Sunday when we had nothing else to do, we would go see a movie, right? And stuff. Like I think you talked to me about that. Like your mom would just drop you off and give you
Oh
money.
yeah, yeah. She'd be just like, go,
Go, leave me
just go.
alone.
She didn't care what I saw. I mean, I saw Saturday Night Fever that was rated R like three times. They just
Right.
let me in. They didn't care.
Nobody cared back then. I mean, I remember I rented Kids, the movie Kids from the video store, and the guy saw that it was unrated, right? Which at that time meant just the same as NC-17 pretty much because they just didn't want to get the NC-17 rating. And he was like, unrated. I've never seen that before. Does that mean I, and then we're like, that means you can let us see it. It's fine for us to watch it. And he was like, okay, 13-year-old dude, here you go.
Here's
You
kids.
know, yes, your kids, you can watch kids. You know, that movie is not made for kids.
No.
No, no, not at all. But it was fun to watch it. My favorite part of that was that my friend Matthew, who might be moving back to Williamsburg someday, or at least close by, he and I rented that movie, went to the house, but we also rented Mighty Morphin Power Rangers so that we could switch the 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 thing when his mom came home, like the tapes. So we would take out kids, hide it, put the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So that's what she thought we were watching. And we did end up watching some of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers because we thought the Pink Ranger was hot.
Well,
She still
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the only reason to watch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
for real. So anyway, the Child's Play 2, I mean, I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. I have no idea how I'm going to feel about the third one, well, I know how I feel about the fourth one. But I love because I just saw that somewhat recently, so I can guess on that. But I'm excited. I'm sad because I watched the first movie on HBO Max, and then they only had the first and the remake on Max. So the rest of the
That
movies I
sucks.
have to watch on, which is weird because the second movie's Universal and isn't Universal own HBO, so you would think. Whatever. Anyway, but the second one I had to rent through YouTube. $4. Not a big deal, you know. Well worth well worth $4 to watch that movie, you know, and enjoy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back in a couple more weeks, probably next month sometime. I don't know. We have not gonna record it till later, so we won't know until we record it. But hopefully next month we'll get it done and we'll have I think we'll have both was it 3 and 4, you know, and then we'll get into all the rest of them. So hope you guys enjoy these and let us know what you guys think. Uh, I know we go off the rails a little bit. We don't stay on target.
Stay on target.
You always have to say that when I say that. So that's why I make sure to
Well,
say
and
it.
you have to say it like the guy does in Star Wars. Stay on target.
Uh, or you could say it's a trap. But you gotta, vision me with a squid face on. It's a trap.
It's a cup.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. That I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Trap.
Oh, I thought you said it's a cup.
No, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
All
Poor
right.
Poor Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
That's sucked out into space.
Oh, that's sad.
Fucking
Rest in
Last Jedi.
peace. Rest
Bring
in
him
peace,
back.
Admiral Akbar. Rest in peace, Star Wars. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for
It's a
checking
whole
this
other
out.
video.
Yeah, that's not for horror film lovers though, but we'll do that eventually, I'm sure. Um, all right, everybody. I hope you guys enjoy this. Join us next month for a brand new episode. Till then, everybody. Bye.
Bye.